It's been bloody cold. G'day my lovelies and welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to give you a wrap up of July in Melbourne, where it has been freezing, absolutely icy. I went out the other day and it was only 10 degrees and in 5 minutes my hands were ice blocks and I thought, no wonder I just want to stay home. It's just way too cold right now. Much more colder than we're used to. We do occasionally get cold days, but not like this. It just seems to be day after day after day. Though finally it's starting to warm up a little. Yeah, 15 is warm. Not quite, but compared to 10, it is a lot better. So that is what the weather's been like in July. As to what else I got up to, I think I was still recovering from the flu in early July. My demon child, yeah, it's been up and down again with her, though she did injure herself quite seriously, I guess. She ran into a branch, we think, and punctured her stomach. Luckily, there was no internal damage and she is now fully recovered, but she was so lethargic and quiet, and I thought, oh, has she finally turned a corner and become this quiet dog? And I thought, no, there's something wrong here. Anyway, she's been taking medication and now she's back to her very destructive and normal self. Yeah. Other than that, oh, well, I fell off the wagon. Yeah. I have bought so many books in the first half of this year that I did not want to buy new authors for the rest of the year because I need to read the ones I've got. But I did fall off the wagon quite badly. I am a member of Amazon Prime because you get free shipping, and they had Prime Day sales and there were so many books that were heavily reduced, and I ended up buying quite a few because, yeah, I have no self-control when it comes to books. The truth is, though, I bought a hardcover for $11. A hardcover. Crazy. So I thought, why not? You know, this isn't something that happens all the time. I've rarely seen books reduced this much, and they were all things that I was looking to buy at some point. So yeah, I went a little overboard. And you can expect to see more book hauls in the future. I also ended up buying another circular bookshelf because I am running out of room for my hardcovers. When I had my bookshelves custom made, this was the only one really that holds hardcovers. This unit behind me is 3 bookshelves which are attached, and I never thought I was going to fill that. The truth is, when I got this built and all my other bookshelves, hardcovers were extremely expensive in Australia, and it just didn't seem possible I would ever fill it. But I have filled it, and I've had to find somewhere else to put all my hardcovers. So I thought, why not get one of these circular ones when I move, as I'm still intending to. I can use it as another TBR shelf. And I'll give you a shot of what it looks like. At the moment, I'm just storing all my mystery or thriller or legal thriller authors where I have more than one book of theirs. People like Louise Penny, Janet Ivanovich, Scott Turow, etc. I'm a huge fan of these circular bookshelves. They take up so little space and yet they fit quite a few books. So I guess that's something else that I've done that is book related. Interruptions, yeah. As for what I've been watching, I did finish 3 Pines, and I'm a little sad it's finished because Alfred Molina was perfect as Chief Inspector Gamache. Yeah. Whilst I did enjoy the show, I would have liked more emphasis on the murder mysteries themselves. I have got 3 episodes left of The Big Bang Theory. I was going to watch them in one night, and then the Olympics started. And I am an Olympics junkie. I love them. I have been watching them since 72. I was very young and I don't remember much of those Olympics, though I do remember the 76 Montreal Games. Nadia Comaneci, the gymnast who scored perfect tens. Yeah. And I've watched every single Olympics since. I just love the philosophy behind the Olympics, getting together all these people, putting aside their differences, religion, race, politics, and forming friendships with people that you otherwise would never meet. Unfortunately, they have become a little too politicized at times and definitely commercialized, but I still love seeing athletes doing their best, because that's all we can ask of them. There's just something special about watching people striving and achieving things that you don't think are possible. And there's always great stories out of the Olympics. And I'm not just talking about Australia, because of course I want Australia to win and get as many medals as they can. But even stories like, I think it's Leon Marchand, a French swimmer, who actually has now 4 gold medals. How extraordinary is it for someone to actually be able to win a gold medal in front of their home crowd? I don't think anything would beat that. So I have been spending a lot of time watching the Olympics. Every night it's just Olympics at the moment. It's only 2 weeks out of every 4 years, so it's not that much time to devote to sport, because it really is the only time I watch sports. I'm quite happy to just sit and watch all kinds of different sports that I otherwise would never watch. And I've noticed I seem to be drawn most to things I loved as a child. I did not realize that, because my favorites are the swimming, the cycling, and the equestrian. And they're all things I loved as a kid. Bizarre but true. And because I've been watching so much on the television, I have started knitting again. Yay, finally. I'm about 2/3 of the way through this jumper, but my shoulder has been complaining because I've been pushing myself a little too much. Doesn't matter, it just needs a bit more time for me to get used to knitting as much as I have been. So really, that's all I've been watching. I'm not watching as much YouTube at the moment because I'm so tired of the ads, and now they're introducing minute-long ads. Yeah, way too much if you ask me. In fact, I even subscribe to one of our local streaming services so that I could watch the Olympics without ads, because last time, I think the Tokyo Games, I couldn't get over how many ads there were. Whereas at the moment it is ad-free, and I love it, and it's worth every penny. Yeah. All right, so let's move on to what I've been reading. I read 13 books, though one was a novella. I read 2 more Stephanie Plum books, and the novella was in relation to Stephanie Plum by Janet Evanovich. I do not like where the author took Stephanie in one of the books, though I'm hoping that will change in the future. They are still a delight and so much fun. I always laugh out loud when I read them. I really love the character of Stephanie and, of course, the supporting cast. And that's what I want, just something light and easy in between other books. Then I read Aeronaut's Windlass by Jim Butcher, the first book in the Cinder Spire series. I've been wanting to read it for ages. I even read the second book, The Olympian Affair. There is a novella, but I haven't read that yet because I'm not a big fan of novellas, though I will read it at some point. Now, this is what I think people call a steampunk fantasy. It is very reminiscent of kind of Victorian times, I think, as in the morality and the customs of our main characters. There is also an antagonist state, I guess, that is very reminiscent of Spain, because this series is similar to the English fleet against the Spanish Armada. I think Butcher even uses those terms, except they're not ships, they're airships. It reminds me a lot of swashbuckling movies or books. It also has pirates. And one of the best things about this series is the talking cats. I absolutely love them. Yeah, Butcher just nailed what cats are like in this book, or books I should say, and hearing them speaking is exactly what I imagine cats would say. Yeah, I just love the cats in this. I also really like some of the characters. I didn't love all of them in the first book, but they definitely grew on me. And the major plot in relation to this is a conflict between two states, I guess. One is similar to an English-like state and the other is a Spanish-influenced state, but in a world that also has magic as well as magical creatures. I also love the introduction of Masters of the Ether and how it actually affects them. It's quite different to what I've read in other books. However, I won't say that I love this series as much as I love the Dresden Files. Still, this has only been 2 books so far, and whilst there are a lot of things that I enjoyed about them, I'm not going to say it's one of my favourite series, no. For my classics, I think I read 2 and a bit. One was A Kiss Before Dying by Ira Levin, who wrote The Stepford Wives and Rosemary's Baby, which I'm intending to read in October for Halloween, I guess. I really liked A Kiss Before Dying, and I think it's his first book. It came out in the 50s and it's definitely a product of its time. Sometimes the women really did annoy me because they seemed so blind to what was going on. But this had a very, very clever premise. We actually start off the book in the mind of a killer who is not happy that his girlfriend is pregnant and is planning to do away with her. And then we skip to the next section where somebody is investigating the death of this girl, but we do not know who the killer is because the author never gave us his name, and we have to try to work out who the actual killer is. It was really well done, I thought, and whilst I didn't love the women in this book, I do love the idea. I thought it was very clever, and I do really like Ira Levin's writing style. This is the second book of his I've read, and I'm intending to read more. I think I need to take the hint sometimes that this may not be the right day to record because I got interrupted again. Okay, next, what did I read? Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone by Benjamin Stevenson, a Melbourne-based author, comedian actually. Now this has a very unique or different writing style where the narrator, Ernest, speaks directly to us, the reader, at times. He writes how-to guides, how to write a murder mystery, and he uses certain rules, 10 rules I think it is, that were created back in the 1920s. So basically he kept foreshadowing when things were going to happen, when a murder was going to take place, in which chapter even. I did not like the writing style, and it took me a bit of time to adjust to it. It came across as gimmicky to me, trying to be very clever and different. Yes, it was different, but not necessarily better. And the premise of this is about a family that is getting together at a ski resort up in the snow for the return of one of their members who was in jail, where a murder takes place. The family dynamics I did not like at all. I thought it was over the top actually, and I found it very hard to like any of the characters. I think maybe one, but they didn't play a major part. There are a lot of twists and turns in this, which, yes, some were not difficult to guess, but some were impossible because there were not enough clues given to us to be able to guess it. Though the narrator told us, no, you have all the clues I have, you should be able to guess it. Yeah, bullshit. Sorry, but that was my reaction. No, I don't agree that the clues he gave us led to the actual solving of the crime. But because I already have 2 of his other books, I thought, fine, let's read the next one, which is Everyone on This Train is a Suspect. We have the same narrator, Ernest, who I could not stand in the second book. He was so annoying and stupid that I just wanted to strangle him at times. He is invited to a writer's workshop that takes place on the Garn, a train ride from the top of Australia down to Adelaide, the bottom. A very exclusive and very expensive train ride. And what the author did with this was have different mystery writers, a legal mystery writer, a forensic writer, a psychological writer, a literary writer. He put them all together and was trying to show us their approach, I guess, to solving a crime. That didn't work for me either. This one was a little bit better because it didn't involve family dynamics, which I really don't like in a murder mystery. It was more about trying to solve a crime based on what possible motives these disparate people might have. I didn't find this one difficult to guess, personally, though there were a few surprises. But again, the writing felt very gimmicky, and there were so many references to the previous book, it was almost like he was trying to sell it to us, to go and buy it and read it. And I didn't like that either. But the narrator is someone I really learned to dislike in this one. I didn't hate him in the first one, but I did in this one. His actions were ridiculous. He went up to a police officer and said, "You don't want to hear my theories about the murder?" Why would he? He's a writer who has written one murder mystery, and it was actually based on true events. Why? Why would he even imagine that a police officer would be interested in his theories about a crime? Yeah, I just thought that was utterly ridiculous, actually. If it was meant to be funny, it didn't work for me. And whilst I don't think these books are terrible, I've read a lot worse, they certainly did not appeal to me. I think they could appeal to some people, though, because they are a little different to your usual murder mysteries. Yeah. I then read The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Washington Irving. This is a very short story, and I actually did like the author's kind of tongue-in-cheek attitude in this book. It is, of course, about the Headless Horseman in Sleepy Hollow, and I liked his observations of the different types of people that live in this small town and how we can take certain very prosaic events and turn them into a legend, into a myth. Because we always see what we want to see in certain events that might seem supernatural but actually might have a very commonplace explanation. This was a fun read, and it was also my super small challenge for July. In fact, I read another super small book, An Unnatural Life by Erin K. Wagner. And this was actually a gift from my friend Gabby. This is a science fiction where a lawyer has moved to one of the moons of Jupiter and who is looking to help rehabilitate a robot who has been convicted of murder. Reading the back of the book, I thought this was going to deal with what does it mean to be a robot? Should he have the same rights that humans do? Is he a sentient being who should be held accountable for his actions? And I just found that this was too filled with cliches. It seemed to be more interested in how this lawyer was finding living on Jupiter, and the robot just happened to be a robot in this story. It seemed to deal with discrimination. Just so happened that it was a robot that was being discriminated against. I've seen this done much, much better. There is an episode on Star Trek Next Generation, The Measure of a Man. I think it is one of the best episodes I have seen because it dealt with what sentience is. Where the Data, one of the main characters, was a sentient being and entitled to the same rights as other sentient beings. If Wagner was exploring this theme in this book, I feel she failed. I just found this too cliched and very, very predictable. Yeah, especially the ending, and I'll just leave it there. For my supersized book for July, I read The Daylight War by Peter V. Brett, the third book in the Demon Cycle series. I liked it. I did not love it. I like certain things in the book, but I don't want to go into detail because I don't want to give away any spoilers, and I still would like to do a review on this series when I finish it. I had a few issues with this book, and whilst I do feel it progressed the story to some degree, I still think there was a lot of filler in it. And some of the characters, my issue was that there is a main character. I call it the Lady Macbeth character. Honestly, in the third book, it was like I was reading about a completely different character. She did not match the character we had met in previous books. I didn't like that at all. I thought, hang on, this is what you told us this character is, and now you're giving us more of her back history and I guess humanizing her, but it's also made her unrecognizable. And some of the other characters I felt also were not within character in this book. I just felt like the author did a 180 on some of these characters and it didn't work for me. And I couldn't believe how much sex he actually incorporated in this book. I think I remarked to one of my friends that, what am I reading? It's coming across as a bodice rip. But it's true. I was so surprised. I thought, hang on, this is a fantasy. And whilst I have no objection to having some sex scenes in a book, there were too much of them in this one. So I didn't love that either. Because if I want to read a historical romance bodice ripper, then that's what I'll read. I don't really need it in my fantasy. So not one I loved, no. Though I'm glad I read it and I'm still going to read the rest. I think there's 2 more after this. I've been wanting to retry some audiobooks. I tried just listening to it through speakers and I found it didn't work for me. And I decided to buy some headphones because sometimes my puppy doesn't like the TV. I thought I'd connect it to my television. But it seems that she is now fine with the TV, so that's all good. But I thought I'll try headphones and an audiobook, and I loved it. I have become a big fan of it. I've been able to watch the Olympics with my headphones on because I don't need to hear the commentary, and just watch the sports as I knit and listen to audiobooks. And in July, I listened to 2. The first one was The Rats by James Herbert, an English author. It is a horror kind of schlock-like book, and I loved the narrator, and I found I was on the edge of my seat as I was listening to it. He really captured the mood, I thought. And I found myself really liking Herbert's writing, though I will confess I was again surprised at some of the sex scenes in this. I didn't expect them, I guess. It doesn't matter. I think that Herbert was a good writer, except that I do not like his females. They are damsels in distress. This is a product of its time. I think this came out in the 70s. I could be wrong. It might be even earlier. Regardless, I would like to see the women a little bit more, I guess, independent than they are. they all seem so fragile that the men have to look after, which bugs me as a feminist, but that's okay. Like I said, you need to remind yourself that these were written at a certain time where women were perceived differently to today. But I really found the horror was well written. The atmosphere kept amping up throughout the audiobook, and perhaps I was really lucky that I had a really good narrator who made me thoroughly enjoy this book. And as I said, I want to read more by Herbert. But that was really revealing to me that I could enjoy an audiobook, because I didn't think I could. And it gives me the opportunity to knit as well as to listen. So that was fantastic. There are days where it seems everything is conspiring against me to record a video. It is now the next day. Okay, I was talking about The Rats by James Herbert, and I just wanted to add that Herbert's style of writing really reminded me of early Stephen King, which is probably why I enjoyed it so much, and I'm definitely going to read more. The other audiobook I listened to was The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. I guess it's also a classic. I started this in January, but it kind of fell by the wayside as I did my Loving What You Own challenge. And when I found it on audio, I thought, fine, let's listen to it. I really like Jackson's writing style. She writes quite lyrically. And then she'll insert something that is very jarring, and the contrast makes it even more shocking. I also loved how she showed us, I guess, the descent into, I don't want to call it insanity, but mental instability in one of the characters. I thought she did that really well, and her observations of some of the characters did match my own feeling about them. I did already know this story because I've seen the original film several times as well as the remake, but it didn't matter. I really enjoyed this, and I want to read more by Jackson in the future. So that is all the books I read. As for the book that disappointed me the most, I'd say that was Everybody on This Train is a Suspect. I expected to really love it because it is popular, and I don't mind somebody trying something new in their writing style, but it just didn't appeal to me. I didn't think it was terrible, it just wasn't great either. As for the one that surprised me the most, that was The Rats by James Herbert. I loved the story, and I thought Herbert did an excellent job, especially considering that was his first book. But there's no doubt that the audio really did enhance my experience of this book, because I never expected to love audio so much. As for my least favorite, that would be An Unnatural Life. I just thought the way the author dealt with some of the issues was too superficial for my taste and far too predictable. It didn't seem original at all. I've seen it done so much better. As for my favourite, I'd say that was A Kiss Before Dying by Ira Levin. I just loved the setup in this book, the way the author structured it. It was intriguing and different, and considering it was his first book, I was really surprised at just how good it was. Yeah. So that's all I have for you guys today. Now, of course, I'd love to hear what your favourite reads are from July, or what you got up to in July. And you can let me know down in the comments, or you can contact me on Instagram. Thank you all very much for watching. I really do appreciate it. And as usual, you can like, comment and subscribe if you haven't already. I also have a Patreon account if you wish to support me in that way. I hope you all have a beautiful day, and I'll see you next time. Bye. I wanted to thank all my patrons, but a big shout out to my book dragons, Gabriella, Hadal, Joe, Johanna, Kiki, Laurie and Michael.